United States is entering a new economic era.
I think we are in a different environment than what we've experienced over the past 15 years.
It began with decisions by the Federal Reserve.
We've raised the federal funds rate by 500 basis points since a little more than a year ago. We also think that there's more tightening power coming through.
The speed of this hiking cycle is distorting Wall Street and reshaping personal finance in America.
Why did the rate increases come so fast? They came fast because, in a sense, the Fed got behind the ball.
There are a number of risks that emerge when interest rates rise quickly. And so, if you are a person who borrowed money to buy equity, for example, or even to buy a house, if you were not careful, you could find the value of your assets going down.
Reversing zero interest rates carries a pain with it that may not make the initial zero interest rates have been worth it. Like you take a drink and it feels really good right now, but the hangover tomorrow may mean that the drink you had the night before wasn't worth it.
Barring a catastrophe, I don't think we'll see zero interest rates anytime soon.
So, how is the U.S. economy adapting to higher interest rates? And have we seen the full effect of the past decade's free money policies at the Federal Reserve? Decisions made by the Federal Reserve can influence the cost of living in America. The Fed does that by changing interest rates. That can affect inflation, your job prospects, and a whole lot more.
The Federal Reserve, obviously being our nation's central bank, has a primary tool to sort of shift gears on the economy as needed, and that primary tool is its benchmark interest rate.
The Federal Reserve is like a group of mechanics, and the economy is their machine. They can control the speed at which the machine operates with a lever. In this analogy, the lever represents interest rates. All gears in the machine are influenced by the lever.
All right, in my usual non-lawyerly way, I want to repeat a pattern that I've observed over the past year or so. Every time Donald Trump increases his polling lead, the Biden administration comes storming in and slaps him with some cockamamie set of criminal charges. Now, I'm using the word cockamamie because I think it's all political, it's all weaponization, it's all trying to protect Joe Biden. And anyway, I'm not a lawyer and it's a non-legal term. Anyway, if you disagree with me, I respect your disagreement. I always do, and I hope you folks know that. But I continue to believe that Joe Biden will do anything and use any means of government power to prevent Donald Trump from running against him. Political geniuses in Washington Beltway think Trump's the easiest guy for Biden to beat. Well, something tells me Mr. Joe Biden doesn't agree with that wisdom. In short, I believe Biden wants his minions to throw Trump in jail. Of course, 100 years ago, socialist Eugene V. Debs actually ran for president in jail, got a bunch of votes. That was then, this is now. Actually, at least one well-regarded columnist believes one of the new charges against Trump could conceivably lead to the death penalty. I'm sure it was just a coincidence that one day after Hunter Biden's former BFF Devin Archer fingered Joe Biden as a major league pay-for-play influence peddler, just one day later, the Justice Department and Jack Smith comes out with 1 construction and 3 conspiracy counts related to the 2020 election. Just a coincidence, right? Just like last spring, when House Oversight Chair Jamie Comer revealed all the Biden family's suspicious accounts and payments. A couple of weeks later, Alvin Bragg went after Trump.
When central banks raise interest rates, it's big news.
Bankers judging that the only way they can try to pull down inflation is to carry on raising interest rates.
We're going to see rising rates.
Rising interest rates that will make the cost of borrowing go up.
It can send ripples across the whole economy. It can sink consumer confidence, result in fewer jobs and lower wages, and cause stock prices to fall.
If they go too far too fast, it can tip economies into recession.
So, why do central banks raise interest rates? Let's start with the basics. If you borrow money, you'll have to pay back a little extra to make it worthwhile for the lender.
Well, I think we can make it this long. You have a good reputation. You know you're reliable.
I'm glad you think so.
This is the interest rate.
So if you are taking out a loan, you want the interest rate to be as low as possible so you don't have to pay that much back.
On the flip side, if you want to save money, then a high interest rate means you can earn more on your savings. See it as a reward for leaving money in your account. But the size of your reward depends on the circumstances.
There's no single interest rate in the economy. You've got thousands of banks setting their own commercial rates. That's all influenced, though, by the interest rate that the central bank sets.
A central bank is like a bank for banks. Just like you and your savings account, banks also earn interest when they leave money with a central bank.
Commercial banks have these things called reserves. So that's a bit like their cash on hand. Commercial banks lend those excess reserves to each other at an interest rate, and they also can deposit their excess reserves at the central bank. And when they do that, they can earn an interest rate. Ordinary people can't access the interest rate on the excess reserves, but it still affects them.
And that's the idea. When central banks raise interest rates, they're trying to control inflation, how fast prices rise for everyone.
They were 129, now they 139, and that's in the space of 4 weeks.
Central banks like the Fed or the Bank of England or the European Central Bank are all trying to hit an inflation target of 2%. Interest rates are a really powerful tool that they have to do that.
If inflation is seen as too high, that's when banks raise interest rates. The change spreads through the financial system and slows down the rate of inflation.
Folks, go ahead and hit that free like and that free subscribe button. What those videos pointed out, they were not like random videos. You know, Mr. Codlow was showing us that the government, big government, is using government money to go after his opponent, Donald Trump. Those things are wrong. We already owe $32 trillion. Do we really need to use government funding to go after the opponent? And then the other two tells us why America has such a bad inflation. The Federal Reserve. This is why people want Bitcoin. This is why I promote Bitcoin. The Federal Reserve has manipulated stuff and destroyed the economic. I didn't say these are like from the economic. You saw those videos yourself. So those are the reasons I wanted to point it to you, is that the government is no longer fair, never have been fair. And number two, government is spending money to go after its own opponent, which is not correct. So how do we manage to move forward? There are three ways. You start an online business. Go on YouTube or Google or Facebook, TikTok, Amazon, Shopee. The average person is making $3,000 per month. You've got to edge yourself. As you could tell from the videos, we are not leaving this inflation. The Federal Reserve controls it. They're at 7%. They broke up Silicon Valley Bank, and that's what they're doing. And look into the stock market. Go ahead and invest, save, and pay down debt at the same time. I do not believe that you should pay down debt, then invest, because we are in the best country in the world, America. And I'm going to go over and tell you more about how great the market is. Here are 5 great stocks that you should look into investing in. These are trillion caps or billion caps. It means that much money has been passed through. You're missing out. The average American owes $32,000 on a car payment, which you don't need anymore. Get rid of the car. Gas is averaging $300 per month. It only worked. Car payment only worked when gas was $40 per month. And then the student loans, undergrad $38,000. You've got to learn to go to school for free or go ahead and work a job. And number 3, credit card debt's $15,000. So don't tell me you don't have enough to put in the stock market. You can put $50 a month. If you're doing $100 per month to credit card, do 50 to credit card, 50 in the stock market. Here are 5 stocks you should look at: Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, and Meta tag. That's Facebook. This, ladies and gentlemen, America is still the greatest country in the world, and you are missing out if you're not investing in those top stocks. But however, you do have debt, which, as you could tell from the shows I've been showing you earlier, it's not sustainable because the inflation is never going to end because the Federal Reserve. Speak of the Federal Reserve, XRP won against the SEC, Federal Reserve, government. Found out that XRP is not as security as we had predicted. Folks, go ahead and hit that like and that free subscribe button. We'll be bringing you start edging yourself against it. Start an online business. Look into Amazon, look into YouTube, look into Airbnb. You can rent your room out with Airbnb. Rent a room in your house. So you've got to be able to bring in and get rid of the car payment.